thank you for joining today's Family Academy Lunch and Learn, Raising Readers and Writers. Please take a moment to sign in using the bit.ly on your screen that has also been added into our Q&A. That is bit.ly/Family Academy sign in. The slides for today have also been added into our Q&A section. If you are in need of translation supports on today's call, please select Captions in the top right-hand corner of your screen. From there, you'll select Show Live Captions, and then select the language of your choosing from the drop-down. Once again, select Captions, Show Live Captions, and then you'll select the language of your choosing from the drop-down. And families, we are excited to engage with you today and answer any questions you may have. During the presentation, please feel free to utilize the Q&A section to ask our presenters any questions that will be answered during our Q&A time. To access Q&A in the top right-hand corner, you'll click Q&A and a text box will appear. And we will also encourage you to use the reactions feature on today's call. So at any moment, if you hear something you're excited about, love learning, or have any aha moments, please feel free to send a thumbs up, a heart, or a clap emoji, and we'll have some specific opportunities to engage using that react feature today. And if you are interested in future sessions or maybe have missed a previous Family Academy session and are wondering where to find it on demand, please visit cmsk12.org/Family Academy to find out about all of our upcoming sessions as well as access our on-demand catalog. We also invite you to explore the Family Portal. This is the one-stop shop for all of our family-facing resources. Please feel free to explore your child's unique pathway to stay up to date with resources to support learning at home. And at this time, I am excited to turn it over to our fabulous team who will be sharing supporting reading and writing at home.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn session entitled Raising Readers and Writers at Home, Lasting Strategies for Families. My name is Jennifer Gunn, and I will be your host for the next about 50 minutes. And I'm joined by my colleagues, Monica McMahon and Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and we serve as high school English curriculum instructional specialists for the district. This afternoon is all about partnerships. Schools do a great deal with building literacy, but the greatest impact happens when school and home work together. Our goal is going to be simple today, to help you feel confident supporting readers and writers at home in ways that feel doable, meaningful, and even enjoyable. We're also joined by our learning partner, Zinc, who will also be sharing a little about their reading and writing resources. We will hear from Sophia and Hillary a little later in our session. But before we begin, we would love to know who is in the room with us this afternoon. So we want you to use that React feature, again, just to try it out as well, to kind of share if you have a child in either elementary using that thumbs up, middle school using a heart, or high school giving us that clap emoji.
We are seeing a lot of our families have elementary learners. We're seeing some of our middle school learners who've joined the call, a few of our high school learners as well. So we have a great variety of families today.
Excellent. Okay, so this is going to be really helpful because literacy development looks different at every level, but support at home matters really at every stage. So reading is not just one skill, it's layered. The model right here is Scarborough's rope, and it reflects the interconnectedness of language comprehension and word recognition. So at the top, you'll see language comprehension skills that grow into adulthood. So in this section of the rope, students apply background knowledge about a topic to aid in comprehension. They use knowledge of words to make meaning. They apply the rules of grammar, and they make inferences about what they're reading in various genres of literature. And at the bottom, that green portion of the row, students have the foundational skills of word recognition, which becomes better as they become older. Students need to understand the connection between sounds and letters through the decoding and phonics, manipulating sounds through the phonological awareness skills, and they also quickly retrieve a word's spelling, meaning, and pronunciation, all through that word recognition. So fluent or skilled readers and comprehension results in all those strands tightly woven. And if the strand is not nurtured, that rope can become weak, therefore impacting the fluency of the reader. So we want to give a nod to NCDPI. They put together some guidance for families that really breaks down the focus for reading by school level. So you'll notice, like in elementary school, we focus heavily on the phonological awareness, which is that manipulation of sounds like rhyming or blends. Phonics, which is actually just the recognition of letter sounds, early fluency, and basic comprehension. And in middle and high school, we deepen that focus by continuing to support that academic fluency and deep comprehension. But we have added additional support with that word recognition and knowledge because with increasing text demands, students will engage with more complex, multisyllabic academic words. So when students struggle with vocabulary or fluency, it potentially impacts their confidence, comprehension, standardized testing, and even college and career readiness. So we have to continue to support in strengthening all of these areas at home. All right, that was pretty heavy. So we're going to take a pause. Now look at what we look at the images here. What is reading? What we want you to do is look at the 6 images. We've got an audiobook, a TV with captions, a text message with on a phone, a cookbook, an infographic, and a map. Which of these images represent reading? And we want you to use your reaction to give us either a thumbs up if they're all forms of reading, a heart if only some of them are, or a clap if none of them are.
I am seeing nothing but those thumbs up so far coming through. A heart. So we have some saying all, a few saying some, but everyone is saying that we are seeing reading within this slide.
Excellent. Okay, so reading today, unlike maybe when I was growing up, reading today is multimodal, right? It's not just novels. If we shift our mindset about what counts as reading, we open more doors for engagement at home. So let's look at the ABC of readings, and this comes from actually Read Charlotte. They're really powerful because they work at every grade level. So the first, which is A, is ask questions. So for example, in elementary, it might look like, what happened to the character? Whereas in high school, it's going to be strengthened a little bit and might sound like, how did the character's development shape the theme? B is building vocabulary. And so often when we talk, our language is very general. We might use words like see or guess or little. But reading exposes students to that academic language to stretch that common language. So versus see, they're going to start using the words like observe, versus guess, use infer, versus little, using diminutive. So again, here's a little tip for families. If you see an interesting word, pause and explore it. And then the last part is connect to the child's world. Make the reading relevant. So for example, ask, have you seen this in real life? Or does this remind you of something in our community? The whole goal is to remember to connect in order to build that engagement. So we want to kind of take this section and move into exploring some of the school strategies that can be easily applied at home to reinforce good reading and writing. And I would like to note, from here on, there are going to be some links that are in the slide deck that is provided to you. So you do not have to click on those links right now. You can save those for later and explore them. We'll just kind of give you a high overview as well. So one powerful strategy used in all grade levels is reading a short text multiple times. Sometimes you might hear it as 3 reads. So at the first read, students create the basic knowledge of a text. The second read, they begin to think about the choices the authors make. And the third read, they can dig a little bit deeper and use their full knowledge of the text to form opinions and create connections. So although multiple reads may not be the most practical, in all honesty, during like those time standardized testing sessions, by practicing at home and practicing it at school with shorter articles, it builds a student's stamina, it strengthens their fluency, it improves word recognition, it can reduce confusion about a text, and it really is going to deepen their comprehension and analytical thinking. And over time, they can start to combine. So if you look at this, they can combine steps 1 and 2 so they can get a deeper, more complex in the task and really push towards that synthesizing piece of that reading comprehension. So, and additionally, if you dig deep into that text, you'll have a better chance of meeting those grade level proficiency standards. So if they can just get to that deep understanding, which is looking at the vocabulary and analyzing the text, they should be at that grade level proficiency. While if they can kind of push to that synthesizing, that's really going to move them towards the college and career readiness skills. So at school, students engage in structured discussions, and that's really important because it helps them to clarify their thinking, identify misconceptions, strengthen reasoning, and prepare for writing. And again, here's a nod to NCDPI. They have a wonderful resource of possible questions and prompts that you can ask during or after your child reads a text. One of them is like, how did the character interact with other characters? Or what was the significance of the text? Asking those questions also shows children you value their opinion and thoughts. So we often see that students might have something to share, but they don't know how to start, whether it be just talking or if they have to write it down. So we have some note cards here that can be easily used at home, not just with answering a reading question, but also to start off a writing response. Like if they need to summarize something, or if they need to evaluate a text, there's prompts there. And so you can use that link when you explore the deck a little bit further to access a variety of conversation or discourse starters. We also need to recognize that, you know what, reading isn't all about words. It's about images too. Students are constantly consuming visuals, whether it's on social media, in advertisements, or in political cartoons. And when we ask, what do you notice? What patterns do you see? Or what message is being sent? We're really building that critical thinking in a child. So visual analysis really strengthens writing because students must use the evidence to support their thinking. And so this is one strategy. It's called optic, which is used to help students think more deeply about a text because it helps them break down the visual while gathering evidence to support their conclusions. For example, if a student saw this image, so on the right of your screen, you might see this image, they might start by quickly noticing what stands out, like the words on the bottle, advertising, truth, and lies. They might be looking at the man that looks like a crazed scientist or the woman that has a starry-eyed, she seems to be mesmerized, right? So after which they might start noticing the blender being symbolic, maybe of social media. And after noticing that in the title and all these other little parts, students can start to form a conclusion that maybe we need to be careful about what we see on social media because it's heavily manipulated in order to draw in the consumer, whether it's to buy a product or believe in a certain narrative. So again, you can see this is a really easy and engaging way to spark reading and critical thinking at home. And one of the last at-home to school strategies that we have out here is our races. And those of you that are in high school, even in middle school, you might know your child comes home talking about, we worked on the racist strategy today when we were writing. It really is helpful when students respond to constructed response questions that are found either on the EOG or the EOC. So races stands for restate, answer, cite, explain, or summarize. And that summarized piece is normally found in the upper grade levels. But by practicing the strategy at home, you really can help to build that writing independence by providing an easy structure to follow. If they follow the structure, they can start just writing on their own. It also does help to reduce anxiety because they know how to start a response. And that you're also being a part of your child's test performance. So at home, if your child is answering a question about a text, I'll be honest, just simply ask, hey, did you use evidence? Or did you explain your thinking? That small prompt really does build accountability with your child. And so here is an example of a release constructed response question from the 8th grade EOG. So notice it asks a student to explain how a quote impacts the meaning of the text, and students have to use the quote. And at the bottom where that arrow is, you'll see a sample of what a student has to write to get all the points. And so that example employs the characteristics of race by restating the question, answering the prompt, citing the evidence, and explaining, although it might not follow that exact order. So using that simple framework of race, students have a better chance of success on those school-based and state-level writing tasks. All right, that was a lot just put at you, so we need to take a little pause. Let's reflect on those strategies. So using the reaction feature, what is the likelihood of you trying or using at least one of these school-based strategies at home in the next 2 weeks? Use a heart for very likely, a clap for maybe, or a thumbs up, not likely right now.
We're seeing a good amount of our claps and our hearts. So our families are looking to try and explore these resources and strategies over the next few weeks. And we're still seeing some great hearts and claps coming in as well.
Yay. All right, let's push us forward. For anybody on this call that's K-5, again, another plug for NCDPI. I can't plug them enough. They have a great K-5 literacy at-home resource that has supports by grade level. There's also an online library that includes picture books, texts with multiple languages, especially if your household does not speak English as their first language. They also have readings of texts by celebrities. So that was pretty cool that I saw. And then we also know that reading out loud to children, in all honesty, at any age helps them hear what good reading sounds like. All right, so we're moving into this part like what texts matter. So using the reaction feature, which is that thumbs up, Give me a thumbs up if you've seen this chart before.
We're seeing a few of our thumbs ups coming in. Maybe not
Okay.
all of our seeing a good
Oh,
cluster come in now. So a lot of our families have seen.
great, great, great. And even if you didn't, it's okay. So to add a little bit of context to this is called Lexile levels, and it's what is used to measure the reading difficulty of a text and the reading ability for individuals. So, but it's measured by looking at the frequency of words and the sentence length. So I like to play games. So we're going to play a game. Hopefully everybody is ready. On the side of your screen, you will see some reactions, and they are next to the grade levels. So using the reaction feature, we want to see if you can guess the lexile of some of these well-known books. So clap if you think it's the 4th, 5th grade band, a heart if it's the 6th through 8th grade band, a smiley face if it's a 9 through 10, or the thumbs up for the 11, 12. All right, hopefully you're ready. Let's go. Where do we think A Christmas Carol falls?
A good classic. We're seeing some hearts coming in, a few claps. So between that 740 to 1010 and 925 to maybe 1085.
Okay, all right. Well, guess what? I tricked you. It is a 630 Lexile. It's not even on the board. Technically, according to the Lexile levels, A Christmas Carol is something that a 2nd through 3rd grader can read. All right, now I
Wow.
promise you, I'm not going to trick you on this next one. What about Toni Morrison's Beloved? What Lexile level do we think this is?
Oh, this might be a tricky one. We're seeing some hearts coming through and some thumbs up and some smiles. So
Okay.
somewhere between 6 through 12, but a lot of smiles have started coming in. So maybe that 9th and 10th grade level.
Okay. Well, we're about to blow your mind.
Wow.
According to the Lexile, it is 4th through 5th grade. Now, we did this quick exercise to show you that Lexile should not be the only factor when helping your child select a book. The interest matters, the task matters, as well as the maturity level matters. We know that Beloved is a high school text because of that mature content. So we really want to make sure that we look at Lexile a little bit differently from this point on. To be honest, the best book that you can put in front of your child is a book they actually want to read. That's all that should matter. So now let's look at Lexile like this. Just know that the 200 levels, it's just that's a beginning reader, whereas the 1200, that is your advanced reader. So, but rather than looking at that, you can put that to the side a little bit, right? Let's look at reading and showing students it's like a recipe. It's 1 part skill, which is that Lexile, but it's 2 parts enjoyment. So we really want you to encourage your child to select a book or text that brings them joy. That means it's a graphic novel or poetry or some memoirs or histories or even a podcast. Just let them engage in any type of text you can. So we had an opportunity to actually talk to some of our students and ask them what they felt about reading. And here are a few quotes. So while Nyari loves reading Campbell, she thinks it's boring, but she can grow to like it. And then Aiden wouldn't mind reading stories if they were things that interested him. The strongest connection to students wanting to read or to write is making connections. If what they read or write about connects to their interests, experiences, identities, engagement increases and motivation will follow. So this is one of my favorites. So this next section, we're going to just talk about low stakes activities. So this is one of my favorite literary activities that comes out of the New York Times for students. It's called What's Going On in the Picture. And we're going to have fun again. So each week they drop a new image for students to observe, infer, question, and connect with. It's no pressure and it's just good old thinking. So we're going to try one. So use your react button to tell me what you think is going on in this picture. Is it a cake competition? Use a smiley face. Is it a cake museum? Use the heart. Or do you think it's a cake picnic and use that clap?
Ooh, we're seeing a lot of claps come in, so maybe a cake picnic, and we've also seen a few with cake museum and that heart reaction, and a few saying cake competition with a smile, but I would say cake picnic has been our highest vote so far.
Okay, okay. The answer is you are right. It is a cake picnic. Now, I don't know how anybody else feels. Cakes out in the sun with hundreds of people breathing on them before I get to sample you. But I guess there are some people who have less worries about the germs. But again, it's already sparking like reaction in me. I want to talk about it. I'm interested in it. Like, who does this? So you go on, keep having fun with it. Part of that, what's happening in this picture is that it's fun and it doesn't stop there. Students can also write in their comments and also read what other people around the world are thinking. And then the following week, they reveal an article and they drop that in, and students can see if what they hypothesized is actually correct. It's simple and fun, and the activity builds inferencing skills, global awareness, written expression, as well as just confidence. The New York Times also has a similar series called What's Going On in the Graph. And notice they get that same opportunity to write a comment, but this one actually gives them 4 prompts, like what did you notice? What do you wonder? What impact does this have on you or your community, which I think is great, and what is going on? And as you can see, students can get extremely analytical, like that top one, analytical with their responses, or just practice applying those skills like the bottom one, which is a little bit more simplistic. But it is a safe space for critical thinking and writing practice. And you might say, you know what, this is all great. I'll be honest, but my child would rather play sports or video games than read. How do I get my child to want to read? And all I have to say is, again, let's connect that interest. If they like sports, the Players Tribune is a great place to start. It has real stories by real athletes. If they want to be a football player, have them read about what other football players may have experienced in college, the NFL, or even growing up. Sports Illustrated for Teens is also a great magazine. Research also has shown, and actually Old Dominion University did a study that shows that music enhances literacy development. So karaoke, it builds fluency, it reinforces word recognition, it strengthens vocabulary, and it builds confidence. And we know repeated singing is repeated reading, and repeated reading improves fluency. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm trying not to embarrass myself too much, but I went out karaokeing last weekend and following along with that highlighted words on the top and realizing I've been singing songs all wrong for the past couple of years had me dying laughing. And even karaoke, it really impacts even a fluent reader like me. I got to see those words and again, practice making sure that I was keeping up to speed. And then the last little section here is we really need to talk about like repurposing those smartphones. What does that look like? Because we know our children are on it a lot. So think about word games. They're a great place to start to build vocabulary like spelling, pattern recognition, and problem solving. So I'm going to tell you a brief story, and I'm going to make it really brief. So when my daughter was younger, she got really antsy when we were out shopping and or if we were like on the plane. So I would give her my phone. But I only really had one game, and it was this game, Word Cookie. So I gave it to her, and she spent hours trying to form as many words as possible with the 5 to 7 letters that were given to her. And she got so excited when she like cleared the board. She actually, and if she actually formed a word she didn't know, she would be like, Mommy, what does this word mean? And we would be able to sit down and have a conversation about what that word meant. It broadened her vocabulary, and even her teachers started to remark about how verbose her vocabulary was. There's other games like the examples that are on your screen, like Strands or Wordle, Crossplay, or Words with Friends, that are great vocabulary builders. We want to remind ourselves that technology doesn't have to be the enemy of literacy. It can be a tool. I've got one more idea, and that other idea is like when I text my children, I write my text, and maybe it's because I'm an English teacher, in full, complete sentences. And sometimes I drop them like scholarships or like things I see in the news, like an article, and I put it in their text. And I say, hey, I just saw that. I just saw this. I want you to check it out because I either want your opinion on it or I want to talk about it when we get home. And so this really promoted reading and also created that immediate dialogue between us when we got home. So it was just an easy way to say, like, hey, help your mommy out. I want you to check this out. What did you think? So ultimately, in a nutshell, fluency develops from listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Literacy is not silent, it is interactive. So we really want to make sure that you have those tools to continue to keep it interactive at home. So with all that being said, um, I'm going to actually pass it on to our colleagues at Zinc to give you a little bit more about what their program is.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much. My name is Sophia Starmack. I support the learning experience in Zinc, and I am joined today by my colleague Hilary Tuplitz, who is our Director of Content and Product. And we are so happy to be with you today because everything that you've heard from Jennifer, asking questions, building vocabulary, strategies to comprehend and stay connected to what you're reading, and also really becoming readers is exactly what we work on in Zinc. So thank you so much for inviting us to share a little bit about what Zinc is and our mission to help students grow as readers and develop a love of reading. What is Zinc? Zinc is an online reading growth program that is built specifically for secondary students. We know that adolescents have some specific needs when it comes to comprehending what they're reading and engaging in what they're reading. Even students who are doing a pretty solid job decoding, they can read the words on the page, may still be struggling to turn that into a meaningful experience. I mean, we've probably all had that thing happen where we've read a whole page and we get to the end of it and we think, I have no idea what I just read. And this is exactly where Zinc is dialed in. All of our activities are there to help give students strategies that turn words into something meaningful, images, ideas, something that they can relate to, and also strategies to stay connected across a text so that as you're reading longer chunks, pages, articles, whole books, the meaning stays with them. And most importantly, our mission at Zinc is reading growth for all, So our platform meets students where they come in, where they specifically come in, and it helps them grow. Zinc is chock full of activities. Any of you whose students whose kids are already using Zinc, you may have heard of some of these. Today, I'm just going to really focus on our core programs, Ignition and Liftoff. I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of everything that we've included. Zinc starts with a level placement. That helps students come in right where they are and provides a clear path for growth. It also helps Zinc provide content that's at the right level of challenge for them. Ignition and Liftoff are part of our signature program called Zinc Journeys. Ignition is a short skill building phase where we teach strategies. And I'm very excited to share that over 50% of students who use Ignition grow by at least one Zinc grade level after spending just 60 to 90 minutes on this short program, which is about a year and a half of grade level reading growth. Then students move on to Liftoff, which is all about exploring and choice. Here, students get to try out a whole bunch of different text types, different topics, different authors. I'm going to go into these two a little bit more later on, but some things that your students will also be seeing in Zinc: vocabulary. We know that students who encounter just 5 unknown words on a page can start to have comprehension breakdown. So we teach vocabulary 2 ways: pre-teaching it before they see a text, and also providing regular exposure to vocabulary words so that they're dialed in for good. We also have close reading experiences, which are little bite-sized, video-led, gamified text experiences. And we have a whole library of over almost 800 articles and texts drawn from around the world. I was very excited to see the Players Tribune earlier from Jennifer's presentation. Those are some of our most popular articles in Zinc. And awesome. So we think about Zinc in really 2 buckets. We are giving strategies that help students grow as readers in our signature program Ignition and through vocabulary, but we're also really aimed at helping students become lifelong readers. We know that the adolescent years are also about learning to make motivation intrinsic and students being able to motivate themselves to get their work done and engage. So we've designed Zinc with a lot of opportunities for students to choose what they're doing, to get regular rewards, and again, choice, choice, choice. In both of our signature activities, students get to pick, this is something that I want to read, and that helps them really begin to discover what it is they like and what they'd want to know more of. We know that for the adolescent years, growth and effort are happening when students truly feel like they have some autonomy and they understand why they're doing what they're doing, and when they get that kind of reward that comes from, wow, I really have something to share. This was something I earned. So our core program, Ignition, teaches students 4 reading strategies that help them understand what to do when they're actually reading. Here we have a peer presenter who's going to guide students through a short chunk of text. And we start with these short chunks of text because that really helps build stamina. You know, if you can tackle a paragraph, you start getting that confidence that I can add this all together and tackle longer and more complex text. This is all gamified. And again, it's helping students really dig into, what are these words doing in my brain? What comes to mind? If I read a phrase, the scratching comb, why did the writer pick the word scratching? What does that feel like, sound like? How does that help me connect to the bigger meaning, themes, topics of this text? Students can do Ignition 2 times a year. Every time they do it, they're going to see new passages. And this is how they grow. And our next program is called Liftoff, and this is where students who've started building those skills in Ignition get the chance to put them into practice by exploring what they are interested in. I know Jennifer was really homing in on choice, 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 and connecting to what students are really interested in. So in every phase of this game, students get to choose, what am I into? What's a topic I think I might be interested in? And then they get to explore a bunch of different ideas for articles and texts before they dig into it. So even if students aren't picking a particular text or topic, they're already being exposed to like, oh, wow, that was a cool topic. Maybe I'll come back and check out more of that later. This is helping them really start to develop some confidence and a reader identity. And our goal is long-term reading momentum. Liftoff is available to students all year long. And I just want to do a quick plug. As students move forward in the program, they will get to unlock the Zinc Book Recommender. We partner with Penguin Random House, which has thousands of amazing titles. And when students unlock the Book Recommender, they get to start collecting titles they might be interested in reading. I know the topic for today was all about connecting with students and bringing reading. Oops, I muted. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. I'm back. A great way to start doing that is simply celebrating level growth. In Zinc, every student comes in and starts with a level from 1 to 8, including half levels. And over the year, they get multiple opportunities to start building some pride by growing that level. This is a big win. We know reading is hard. All of the things Jennifer was showing, all the different components that go into it, that is a big win when students grow a level. Since students are encountering so many different kinds of texts, another great way to connect is ask, what did they read today? Maybe, well, what's something you didn't choose to read today? Why not? I also love to plug, sometimes students will come home and it's like, what did you do that you liked today? Nothing. What have you read that you liked? Nothing. But that's still a great place to engage. Why didn't you like it? What wasn't for you? What was annoying about it? Because even being able to say what we don't like and why starts really building that identity and developing those skills to be able to talk about what we're experiencing. Another favorite question I have is like, what was weird about that? What surprised you? And again, it's a great opportunity to go deeper if students start adding titles to their Zinc bookshelf. These are great experiences to maybe tour a library, go on a little bookstore trip. A lot of online bookstores will allow you to read the first couple pages of a text, even if you don't plan on buying it. You might choose to read a couple pages together. And again, a plug for choice and letting students really explore what they care about, especially in those adolescent years where, what is meaningful to me is going to motivate me to do so much more. If students have read a couple pages of a book and they're not into it, why not encourage them to just put it down and grab something else? This is about them and what they're into and letting them have the agency to drive. So thanks again so much for inviting us today. We have a one-pager that can give you a little more about Zinc if you're interested, and I know these links are also posted in your slide deck. So if you're interested in grabbing our one-pager, it'll just give you through the 3-step basics, how students will sign in, a little bit about what's inside Zinc, and a few places to start bridging what students are doing in the app with conversations at home.
Thank you, our Zinc partners. We do really appreciate you partnering with us. I do want to recognize that currently we have Zinc for high school. But again, there have been a lot of other things that have been on this call that if you are in elementary or middle that you can use as well that are very similar to zinc. So to get a real quick reaction, we recognize again that some of you don't have high school students yet. So as this is not a resource that's available to you, so you can react to your likelihood of using, if you're in high school, zinc or any of the other resources that we have shared so far. How likely would you be to use either zinc or any of the other things like Players Tribune or that New York Times, what's happening in this picture, or even those word games on your phone? So heart, very likely, clap, maybe, or thumbs up, not likely at all.
We've seen a variety throughout. We saw a couple more of the not likelies at the beginning, maybe when we were thinking just zinc. And as we've discussed those other resources as well, we've seen a lot of maybes and very likelies coming through.
Excellent, great. So before we close, we do want to remind you that of some other resources that are available. So through our CMS Launchpad, all CMS students have access to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library, and they offer free tutoring, paper editing, and also some test prep services. So remember, what's already out there is our wonderful public library. We also want to recognize, like a few weeks ago, we had our College Board partner share some information about SAT and Big Future Career Connections. So there's some resources here that can help you engage in conversations with your child. Like our student quotes that we shared earlier, they wanted to have things that apply to them, like career exploration is really a quick way to connect reading to their interests and their goals. So you have those links as well. And so to close, we just want to remind you, we really want to make sure that we are shifting that mindset of you have to read, you have to write, to what are you curious about? We really want to spark interest with our children, because we know that being a lifelong reader is extremely beneficial for the rest of their lives. So literacy is thinking, questioning, and making connections. And most importantly, it's having fun and strengthening a valuable life skill. So when families model curiosity, conversation, and reflection, students can grow not just as readers, but as writers and as thinkers. So we thank you for investing in your child's literacy journey. Now we are going to open the floor to any burning questions that might be out there. We also want to remind you that our contact information are on the slide. So if you need to reach out to us directly, because this is not the best time for you, we are here to hear you and to support you at home with your students' reading goals.
Thank you so much to Jennifer for sharing such valuable information over reading and writing at home so we can support our learners. And thank you to the Zinc team for sharing such a comprehensive overview of their platform, the different ways that we can use it and support our students with that gamified opportunity to continue engaging with learning at home. We do have a few questions from our community. The first of which is, are these presentations recorded and stored anywhere? And yes, families, please, we invite you to visit the Family Academy on-demand portal to see any of our previous sessions, such as Unlocking the SAT Advantage that Jennifer mentioned, or a recording of today's session if you want to go back and review any of the content shared. Those can be found at cmsk12.org/Family Academy. Please click on the on-demand button to explore that portal. Our second question that we have today is, how do we access Zinc to register? Is there a code required?
I will jump in. I believe that high school CMS students have Zinc, and students will log into Zinc through their ClassLink Launchpad. It should be added. Also, The link that we put in the slide deck will also get students in and take them right to ClassLink, and they should automatically be able to pop in.
Wonderful. Thank you. And families, the link to today's slide deck has been included in our Q&A and can be found at bit.ly/CMS FA 226. We've come to the conclusion of our questions, and we thank our presenters for such a comprehensive session to continue to support our reading and writing at home. Families, thank you so much for joining today's call, and we look forward to having you join us for a future Family Academy. Stay safe and have a wonderful day.